The moment the most popular girl in school bound the doubler system to me, I started seeing a live comment feed. Here we go. The main character is finally using the side character to power up. The MC gets 3 doubles. The first one is for her college entrance exam scores. The side character's grades suck. She always scores between 350 and 370. After doubling, the MC will basically be the top scorer in the state. The second one is for the side character's family fortune. Her parents are billionaires. Doubling that fortune is gonna be wild. The third is for the side character's childhood friend. His love for the side character gets doubled and transferred to the MC. From then on, the MC has the best husband in the world. As for the side character, she'll have to suffer the backlash from everything the MC takes. A 0 on her exams, her family fortune wiped out, and her now heartless childhood friend will throw her into the ocean to feed the sharks. I love this plot. This is gonna be good. After reading the comments, I paused. It seemed these people had no idea. I was bombing my tests on purpose after losing a bet. My parents are billionaires, but they just took out a multi-billion-dollar loan for a new venture. And Julian's twisted love was a desire to turn me into a taxidermy specimen. During the break between classes, I was still mulling over the comment feed. That's when I saw the so-called main character, Chloe, approaching with a clique of guys fawning over her like she was the center of the universe. She was talking excitedly about something, eliciting exaggerated gasps and envious looks from her entourage. Her long fingers were wrapped around an open test prep book, where a glaring 145 scrawled in red ink was impossible to miss. Suddenly, Chloe turned and her eyes met mine. She faltered for a second, then smiled and cut off the person next to her. Honestly, the key to a high score is focus and intuition, she said, then glanced my way again, her meaning clear. Some students, their families are just too well off. They don't know how to work hard, so their grades well. Her little sidekick immediately jumped in. Chloe, you're too modest. With scores like this, you're a shoo-in for top in the state. Not like some people, scoring in the 300s on every single practice exam. What's the use of having money? You can't buy a brain. Chloe shot her a mock reproachful look. Don't say that about Nina. Maybe she just hasn't found the right study method. The other students' eyes, some overtly and some sneakily, darted toward me, filled with a mix of pity, scorn, or just plain amusement. Just as Chloe was basking in the satisfaction of these subtle digs, a few lines of text appeared before my eyes again. The MC is right. Slackers deserve to be at the bottom. LMAO, how can Nina even sit there and pretend to read with grades like that? What an act. The exams are only 2 weeks away. I can't wait for the MC to activate the system, suck up the side character's pathetic score, and lock in her spot as the state's top student. I raised an eyebrow, completely ignoring Chloe's passive-aggressive performance. I slowly lowered my head and turned a page in my book. My grades were terrible not because I didn't know the material, but because I'd lost a bet with a friend last year, and had been intentionally sandbagging my scores for a year straight. I had no idea what wire was crossed in Chloe's brain. She'd stumbled upon some garbage system with only 3 uses, and was acting like she'd hit the jackpot. She couldn't even wait a second before starting to show off. Based on her usual grades, even if she wasn't the top scorer, she could still get into a decent college. Why waste a double on the entrance exams? Oh right. Her scores were probably inflated. I remembered that just 6 months ago, her grades were in the bottom half of the class. It was only recently that she'd started to stand out. Since she was so eager to climb on top of me to get to the summit, I figured I might as well sit back and enjoy the show. Maybe my reaction wasn't what Chloe had hoped for. The next day at school, she accidentally dropped a piece of paper as she walked past my desk. I glanced down. It was an interview confirmation letter from a local news blog. Genius and beauty Chloe Smith. Talent plus hard work, aiming for the state's top score. Her sidekick just so happened to pick it up, letting out a theatrical shriek. Wow, Chloe, you're going to be in the paper? An interview about becoming the state's top scorer? Oh my God, you're so amazing. Chloe gave a reserved smile as she took the letter, her eyes flicking over me. Oh, it's just a small interview to share some study tips. I hope it can help our classmates. The moment she finished, her sidekick led a round of applause. Chloe's so right. You're our role model, not like Nina, who's perfectly fine with being at the bottom of the class. The classroom went quiet again as all eyes focused on me once more. I let out a cold, dismissive laugh, put down my book, and looked calmly at Chloe. Chloe, are you really that certain you'll be the top scorer in the state? She nodded without hesitation. Of course. I was very satisfied with that answer. Great. Since you're so confident, how about a little bet? Chloe was taken aback for a moment, then scoffed. A bet? What are we betting on? Whether you'll even get into community college? I shook my head, looking her straight in the eye as I spoke, word by word. Let's bet on which one of us gets a higher score on the exam. After the scores are released, the loser has to come back to school and publicly admit they're not as good as the winner. Then they have to. I paused, watching the color drain from Chloe's face as I finished slowly, polish the winner's shoes. Chloe seemed to catch on to something and eyed me with suspicion. But her sidekick was ecstatic. Chloe, take the bet. I've seen Nina's scores for the past 6 months. She's never broken 370. You're guaranteed to win. Chloe seemed convinced. Not only did she agree, but she upped the ante. Not just that. On the day the scores come out, the loser has to kneel in front of the media and admit they're lower than dirt. How about it, Nina? Don't come crying to me when it's time to pay up. The comment feed went wild. Our girl is so badass. The side character deserves this, digging her own grave just to show off. The side character has no idea. Does she? The side effect of the doubler system is that the person she swaps with gets their score wiped to 0. Can't wait to see the side character's 0-point exam and watch her beg for mercy. Who was digging a grave for whom remained to be seen. I smiled and nodded. You've got a deal. Then I sat back down and went back to my book. Chloe was clearly unhappy with my calm reaction and shot me a nasty glare. She clutched her interview letter and stormed off. I just smiled, said nothing, and hung up on Julian's incoming call. I opened my texts. 99 plus unread messages again. It was so annoying, but then I remembered the comment about the system's 3 uses. I really hoped she would use one to take that psycho Julian off my hands. 3 days before the exams, Chloe appeared in the classroom again, a brand new, limited edition handbag dangling from her arm. She walked toward me with her chin held high. She tossed a copy of the blog's printout onto my desk. It was, of course, the article about her. Chloe couldn't hide her smugness. Nina, take a look. Even the media is praising me. As for you, get ready to be humiliated in front of the whole country. Oh, and by the way, there's something I should tell you in advance. She leaned in, her voice low, dripping with undisguised malice and pride. Your parents are billionaires, right? Too bad. That's only temporary. Once the exam scores are out, the glory of being the state's top scorer won't be the only thing that's mine. Your family's little fortune is just another stepping stone for me. I've been keeping a low profile, but the status and wealth that should be mine will all come back to me after the exams. It looked like my recent social media posts, made visible only to her, were having the desired effect. I gave the new bag on her arm a meaningful look and curled my lip into a slight smile. Such big talk, Chloe. Confidence is a good thing, but is your confidence coming from that knockoff designer bag you had rush ordered? Or the $5 million debt you owe to loan sharks? The blood drained from Chloe's face in an instant. Her eyes widened in shock, her lips trembling. What are you talking about? You're slandering me. You. I covered my nose and pointed at the bag, which was emitting a pungent chemical smell. Whether I'm slandering you or not, you know better than I do. Enjoying that compounding interest? Every time you wake up, does it feel like the noose around your neck gets a little tighter? Chloe looked as if she'd been struck by lightning. Her body swayed, and she had to grab the corner of a desk to keep from falling. She glanced around frantically, terrified someone else might have heard. My bad. I'd been taunting her with my wealth so much lately that she couldn't wait to one-up me. But the comment feed had mentioned her system has a cooldown period. Before the exams, she wouldn't dare use a double on my family's fortune. So, she could only rely on loans to build her rich girl persona. So stupid. Chloe's face was ashen as she finally squeezed my name through her clenched teeth. Nina, don't get ahead of yourself. Our bet still stands. The day the scores are released, I'm going to make you kneel and beg me. Everything you have will be mine. Everything. She practically shrieked the last words, then snatched her ridiculous little article and stumbled out of the classroom. I, on the other hand, felt a wave of relief. Now I knew for sure that Chloe was planning to use the system on both my exam score and my family's assets. For the next few days, Chloe avoided me, but she didn't stop giving high-profile interviews, taking subtle jabs at me every chance she got. After the 3-day exam period, her interviews went viral online. I was dragged into the discussion as well. My dad was about to hire a PR team to handle it, but I stopped him. I also made sure he had already transferred all our assets to my grandfather. My dad nodded cheerfully and even transferred his remaining cash reserves to me. Except for the new venture, all our assets are with your grandpa now. But he said that as soon as you're done with whatever you're doing, you should see him, and he'll transfer everything into your name. The sooner it's yours, the sooner he can rest easy. And don't worry about the new project. Even though we borrowed billions from the bank, if the project is a success, our family's fortune will reach a whole new level. My family had no idea what I was up to, but if I asked, they were willing to do anything. I smiled, my eyes crinkling. It felt good to be trusted. The very next morning, I dragged my mom on a trip abroad. It was also a perfect excuse to avoid Julian, who would be back for the holidays. I didn't return until the day the exam scores were released. Right after getting off the plane, I happened to see a video of Chloe. Chloe had rented the largest LED screen in the downtown plaza. She announced that on the day scores were released, at 10 a.m., she would live stream the entire process of checking her score, sharing her joy with the whole city. She even revealed that she had invited the principal and several respected retired educators to act as impartial witnesses. I had rushed back because I'd received an invitation from her to attend the event in person. By then, Chloe was already dominating the local trending topics. Hashtag Chloe Live Score Reveal. Hashtag Can the Genius Beauty Snag the Top Spot. Hashtag The Most Epic Score Reveal Ever. And without exception, every one of these topics was filled with paid trolls trashing me, the billionaire's daughter. When I got to the plaza, I saw that the stage was flanked by piles of designer bags and jewelry boxes, all displayed in clear dust bags. The host excitedly announced to the crowd, Chloe has told us that she will be randomly selecting lucky audience members to receive these luxury gifts from her personal collection. Let's thank Chloe for her generosity. Amidst continuous applause, Chloe walked out wearing a princess tiara and a formal gown. She smiled at the camera, her voice intentionally loud. Just a few small gifts, nothing major. I have rooms full of these little things in my mansion, and there's just no more space. It's really no big deal. She deliberately emphasized the words no big deal, savoring the gasps and envious murmurs from the crowd below. The comment feed was exploding with praise for their idol. Wow, our girl is so generous. This is a real socialite. The side character's family is nothing. Check the score already. Then she can activate the wealth double and become a true billionaire. Chloe's gaze locked onto me. Before I check my score, I'd like to share this exciting moment with my classmate, Nina. Nina, would you mind checking your score first? The camera quickly panned to me, and the crowd's attention followed. Chloe is ruthless, ha ha ha, but it's so satisfying to watch, making the side character see the gap between them with her own eyes. Nina has some nerve. Chloe politely invited her, and she actually showed up. I glanced at the livestream viewer count. It was already over 100,000. The atmosphere in the plaza was perfectly primed. I raised an eyebrow and rattled off my exam ID number. The principal helped type in my ID. The big screen loaded for a long time before the results finally appeared. Total score. The crowd erupted into a chaotic murmur of shock and confusion. Chloe's smile, however, was impossible to contain. 0. Oh my God, Nina, how could you cheat? The college entrance exam is sacred. You can't just your family's money doesn't give you the right to trample the rules. This is so embarrassing. I knew this was the result of her using the doubler system to wipe my score clean. Chloe's eyes gleamed with triumph. It doesn't matter if I check my score or not, you've already scored lower than me. Don't forget our bet. Whoever has the lower score has to kneel in front of the media and say they're lower than dirt. Come on, I even prepared a kneeling pad for you. I'll make sure my friends in the media get a good shot of this. She was getting more and more excited, but she was cut off by the principal, who had just hung up his phone. Nina, you didn't get a 0. You're number 1 in the state. You're this year's top science student. Admissions officers from Harvard and MIT are already on their way. Quick, get ready. Chloe, who had been gloating moments before, looked like a chicken with its neck wrung. She couldn't get a word out. After a long moment, she finally shrieked in disbelief. How is that possible? She should have gotten a 0. I'm supposed to be the top scorer. Principal, are you deaf? Did you hear that wrong? Losing her mind, she frantically typed her own exam ID number into the system. The page loaded for a while before the score slowly appeared on the big screen. 1,406 points. Now everyone was completely stunned. The reporters, however, went into a frenzy, pushing forward as the sound of camera shutters became deafening. 1,406 points? WTF, isn't the max score 750? What is this? An alien score? WTF, you can score over the max on the exam? The next second, the screen flickered violently. Chloe's score instantly changed from 1,406 to 0. Time seemed to freeze. The plaza was deathly silent. Chloe stood frozen, staring blankly at the big screen. Just then, a group of police officers arrived. One of them took the microphone. The test score data for the examinee Chloe Smith shows an anomaly, far exceeding the maximum possible score. This is judged to be a severe case of academic fraud. According to regulations, her score is nullified, and she is banned from taking college entrance exams for 3 years. The Department of Education will work with law enforcement to conduct a thorough investigation into the cheating methods used. As for the other students, please don't worry. Due to the high volume of traffic during that time, the system experienced some lag. With the exception of the top 50 scores in each state, which will not be displayed, any student who has not yet been able to view their results can report the issue to their school. The call ended, and another dead silence fell over the crowd. But it was quickly shattered by a roar 10 times louder than before. Only this time, it was filled with skepticism. What kind of high-tech cheating is this? She managed to score over 1,000 points. What was Chloe thinking? She dared to livestream her score reveal. And what happened? A spectacular crash and burn, right on camera. I'm dying. The reporters, like sharks that had smelled blood, swarmed the shell-shocked Chloe, bombarding her with questions. The comment feed, meanwhile, was having a complete meltdown. The system must have glitched. How could it screw our girl over like this? Wait, if Chloe got 1,406, doesn't that mean the side character scored 703? But she's a slacker. How could she possibly score 703? She's the one who cheated. Report her. Clear our girl's name. I made my way through the crowd to Chloe's side and in full view of the media, placed the kneeling pad in front of her. Chloe, since you brought up the bet, it's time to honor it. And I'll make sure your media friends get a good shot of you. What, you're not going to back out now, are you? Chloe stared at me, her eyes burning with hatred. Suddenly, she lunged, grabbing me right in front of the cameras. You did this, didn't you? How could you be the top scorer? You must have cheated. This is impossible. There must be a mistake. I'm going to report you. Nina, you won't get away with this. The live stream ended abruptly in a chaotic mess. The luxury goods Chloe had prepared were snatched up by the audience in a free-for-all. My bodyguards unceremoniously pinned Chloe to the ground and escorted me away. That afternoon, just after I'd chosen my university, my homeroom teacher told me that Chloe was leading a campaign to report me, questioning the validity of my score. Don't worry too much, Nina. You just proved your skills in front of the Harvard and MIT reps. The school will help clear this up for you. Of course, I wasn't worried. The only thing giving me a headache was Julian, who had camped out at my house and refused to leave. Julian was insisting he would take care of Chloe for me. I shut him down with a cold look. I don't need your help. I can handle it myself. The right time for him to get involved would be when Chloe was ready to use her third and final double. Thankfully, an official statement was released that evening. Both the Department of Education and the school confirmed that my score of 703 was legitimate. In the same breath, they also addressed Chloe's score, confirming that she had used sophisticated technology to cheat. The students in our class group chat finally started to connect the dots. No wonder Nina was so confident when she made that bet with Chloe. She must have known Chloe's scores were fake, right? Nina, you're not playing fair. You've been playing dumb this whole time. You fooled all of us for years. But you can kind of understand it. With Nina's family being so rich, so many people are watching her every move. Our star student, Chloe, was always treating Nina like a rival, wasn't she? By the way, Chloe still hasn't made good on the bet. Half an hour later, the only response was Chloe leaving the group chat. I learned from the comment feed that Chloe was holed up at home, her mental state extremely unstable. Her loyal fans were heartbroken, flooding her with messages of comfort. They tried to distract her by bringing up the second double. Money. In 3 days, you can use the second double. Our girl, you have to multiply the side character's family fortune and use that money to crush all these rumors. Yes. Once you have the Vance family's money, who cares about the exam? We'll go abroad. Live like a real socialite. I knew Chloe wouldn't be able to wait. To make absolutely sure she wouldn't get a single cent of my money, I invested all my remaining pocket money into a new startup run by a childhood friend. It was a new tech company that had spent years acquiring a massive portfolio of patents using his family's resources. There was no way it wouldn't be profitable. But just in case, I told my friend not to officially register me as a shareholder yet. With everything handled, a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. I took off to a private island to relax, making sure to check in on Chloe's activities every day. To distract from the negative press, Chloe took out another massive loan and had all the negative stories scrubbed from the internet. A few days later, she hired a troll army to get her trending again, crafting a true-born heiress persona for herself and spamming social media with photos of a lavish lifestyle. She was somewhat clever about it, mixing truth with lies. The real parts were all photos stolen from my private social media feed. For the fake parts, she couldn't even be bothered to buy knockoffs anymore. She just photoshopped everything. She probably spent all her remaining cash on hiring trolls and buying media placements. Even on my vacation abroad, I saw countless clickbait articles promoting the vastness of the Smith family empire, claiming the exam failure was just a minor setback and that Chloe was about to inherit a massive overseas trust fund. On top of that, Chloe didn't forget to plant a story about my family. Vance family fortune collapses. Heiress flees country with cash. That night, I learned from the comment feed that Chloe had initiated the second double. I wasn't about to let this free publicity go to waste. I booked a flight and rushed back home. The moment I landed, I called my parents to ask about our debt situation. It was just as I'd expected. The multi-billion-dollar debt the family had taken on for the new project had miraculously vanished, but the project itself was still intact. After all, the project hadn't officially launched yet. Before it was converted into an actual string of numbers on a balance sheet, it was nothing more than a contract in duplicate. I hung up and immediately called my grandfather and my friend, telling them to transfer all the assets back into my name. As I exited the airport, a horde of reporters was waiting to greet me. I smiled and calmly debunked the rumors, taking the opportunity to give my friend's company some free publicity. Let's not even talk about my family. I was the top scorer in the state. I'm starting college in a few days. Why would I run away with a bunch of cash? My dad did give me a sum of money a while back, but I invested it. If you're interested, you should check out this robotics chip company. It has a very promising future. When I got home, I found my parents in a state of shock, frantically calling everyone they knew to figure out what was going on. Even though I knew the truth, I couldn't explain it. I just had to convince them it was another miracle. They hired top lawyers and accounting teams, and after confirming there were no legal issues, they quickly accepted the debt-free reality. After all, being free of billions in debt was like making an incredible windfall. The comment feed in the sky, however, seemed to only show Chloe's perspective. Her fans were still celebrating. Congrats to our girl. Now she's a billionaire herself. She can just throw some money at those negative stories and make them disappear. And the side character's family will go bankrupt overnight and be begging on the streets. I wonder how the MC will choose to celebrate when she wakes up tomorrow. I was excited too. I could hardly wait to camp out at Chloe's place and see the look of terror on her face when she found out the truth. Unfortunately, I couldn't go see it for myself the next morning. Julian was blocking my front door again. I couldn't stand the cloying, sharp smell of formaldehyde that always clung to him. So I decided to stay home and pretend to be sick, hiring a private investigator to follow Chloe instead. It only took half a day for the PI to send me a video. Chloe was at the mall, revenge spending, only to have all her cards declined. Just then, her creditors and the media swarmed her, cornering her and publicly demanding she pay them back. Before she could even process what was happening, reporters were shoving microphones in her face. "Ms. Smith, how did you manage to rack up a $200 billion debt overnight? Was your socialite persona all a lie? Internet users have pointed out that your photos are all heavily edited. Did you take out loans just to fake a persona for online attention? How exactly did your exam score end up being almost double the maximum possible points? Where did you purchase the technology you used to cheat? You constantly use the billionaire's daughter as a benchmark to build your own image. Don't you think you owe an apology to Nina Vance and all the high school students who once looked up to you? Ms. Smith, are you aware that your actions may constitute felony fraud?" In the video, Chloe's face was a mask of horror. She stared at her phone in disbelief, tapping at the screen for a long time. Finally, she let out a hysterical scream. "This is impossible. Where's my money? Why is it all debt? I'm supposed to be a billionaire. System, get out here and explain this to me." The video ended with Chloe pushing through the crowd, covering her face as she fled in shame. That night, unscrupulous media outlets posted the interview online. Chloe went viral. Her follower count exploded by several million. But they were all there to laugh at her. A few days later, I heard the landlord had forcibly evicted her from the luxury apartment she was renting. The leasing company repossessed her luxury car. She had no choice but to move from her mansion back to a rundown apartment in the bad part of town. But to maintain her rich girl image, she had maxed out every online loan she could find and even borrowed from loan sharks. Now that she couldn't pay, the loan sharks sent thugs to her door every day, splashing paint, blocking her exit and making threats. I was actually starting to worry she might never recover from this. But then, while I was reluctantly out shopping with Julian to help him pick out a gift for his mom, I ran right into Chloe. She looked haggard and disheveled. She walked straight toward me, but her eyes were fixed on Julian. She asked me in a sinister voice, "Nina, aren't you going to introduce me?" But Julian shoved me behind him and kicked Chloe away without a second thought. Where did this beggar come from? "Nina, I didn't know you associated with such classless people. You've been ignoring me all this time, just to hang out with this filthy, disgusting girl? You know I'm a germaphobe." I couldn't stand Julian's psychotic possessiveness anymore, and cut him off impatiently. "Julian, get something straight. You begged me to help you pick out a birthday gift for your mom, and I only reluctantly agreed to come. Don't go looking for trouble. Besides, you were harassing me non-stop while I was busy with my exams. You think you have the right to complain." Julian's lips pressed into a thin line, his eyes flashing with anger. He clenched his fist, then released it. All he said was, "I'm sorry." When I looked back, Chloe was gone. Even without seeing the comment feed, I had a feeling. Chloe was probably getting ready to use her third and final double. Late at night, the rented room felt like it was about to fall apart under the torrential rain. Through the thin door, she could hear the pounding and cursing of the debt collectors. "Chloe, don't think you can just hide. If you don't open this door, I'll throw you out the window." Her phone screen flashed relentlessly with threatening texts from the loan sharks. "Final warning. If you don't pay back the $5 million in 24 hours, we're going to go find your parents in the mountains. Don't think you can hide. We've already sent those compromising photos to all your relatives' group chats. If you don't pay up, we're posting them online. Chloe curled up in a corner, her fingers gripping her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. A moment later, among the flood of threats, she received a greeting from her blood-sucking aunt and uncle, demanding hush money, and a complaint from her landlord. You're disturbing the other tenants. They've been putting up with you for a long time. If you don't handle your personal affairs, I'm not renting this place to you anymore. Chloe stared blankly out the window, completely lost. Why had all her beautiful dreams vanished? She had fought so hard to test her way out of a poor, rural town and get into the top class at a city high school. But the educational resources in the city were a world apart from her village. She had to work incredibly hard just to stay in the bottom half of the class. Being voted the campus beauty felt more like a burden. Countless eyes were on her, seemingly waiting for her to make a mistake, so they could question her title. She had no choice but to cheat on every exam to boost her grades. Until she was chosen by the system. She had agreed without a second thought, and set her sights on Nina. Nina was rich, had a great personality, and even had a top-tier childhood sweetheart. Even when Nina's grades plummeted from first in the grade to the 300s, people still fawned over her. Chloe was so jealous she was going crazy. But it was okay. She had the system. Her life was about to change completely. She would be the one everyone adored, and Nina would be crushed under her heel. But why? Why, after using the double twice, did she still have nothing? In her despair, she saw the comments again. Our girl, don't give up. You still have one last chance. There's still Julian. Julian's love is the ultimate weapon. Let him take care of all this trash for you. Why does Nina get to have his love? You're the main character of this world. You're the one who deserves Julian. Right, one last chance. Chloe scrambled up from the floor, her trembling fingers typing in the URL for Julian's long-dormant private social media account. She had gotten it from the system. She had noticed Julian back in her first year of high school, when he came looking for Nina. He was handsome, rich, and had great grades. Most importantly, he was devoted. She'd heard from others that he had been in love with Nina for years. Back then, she knew someone like Julian was completely out of her league, someone she could only admire from afar. But now, the moment she logged into his account, a series of friends-only posts popped up. A slightly blurry photo of Nina in profile. Caption: her profile like porcelain kissed by moonlight. So perfect you want to preserve it forever. Chloe kept scrolling and found one of Julian's late-night journal entries. Today she got a paper cut on her finger. When the bead of blood welled up, I almost went insane. Why can't I just lock her away somewhere perfectly safe? Why does the world even have the potential to harm her? I hate it when she looks at other people, when she smiles at them. I want to possess her forever. Chloe's breathing grew more and more rapid as the comment feed went wild. OMG, this is some next-level devotion. Our girl, activate the system now. That love has to be yours. He'll love you even more than he loved Nina. The deepest desires in Chloe's heart were magnified infinitely. She could already picture her wonderful future with Julian. And just then, the system's voice spoke. Host, do you wish to use the third double? Chloe knew this was her last chance. But now was not the time. She was scared. She was afraid it would end badly, just like the first two times. This time, she had to see it with her own eyes. She had to personally confirm Julian's feelings for Nina. When I learned from the comment feed that Chloe wanted to see Julian's love for me in person, I knew what she was planning. I made a point of bringing Julian to a restaurant near her apartment. Chloe's eyes watched Julian with greedy hunger. He meanwhile stared at me with a broken, obsessive focus. Nina, why did you block me? Why did you go out without telling me? Are you trying to avoid me? His gaze swept over the silverware in front of me, and his pupils contracted violently. Julian suddenly let out a low growl and brutally snatched the dinner knife from my place setting, throwing it onto an empty table nearby. The sharp, sterile smell enveloped me. He stared at me, his breathing ragged, his eyes filled with a twisted obsession. Who said you could touch something so dangerous? What if you got hurt? Don't you know how much I care about you? But I knew very well it wasn't me he cared about. It was my body. A body that, in his eyes, was a near-perfect vessel. But the comment feed clearly didn't see it that way. They were praising Julian. Holy crap. He really cares about the side character. He's so afraid of her getting hurt. His possessiveness is off the charts. This is definitely the kind of love you'd die for. Our girl, you have to get this love. If he can love Nina this much now, once our girl activates the double, Julian will love her to death. Yes, he would. He would definitely love someone to death. But whose death it would be was another question entirely. Julian's almost psychotic obsession and possessiveness toward me were still tempered by a sliver of reason. That was, of course, the balancing act I had managed to maintain with him over the years. He had the desire, but he never dared act on it with me. He couldn't afford the consequences. But if that love were transferred to Chloe, who was so clearly a weaker target, and if it was a doubled love, I couldn't help but look over at Chloe. She seemed to be speaking to the air. The next moment, I saw a wave of comments float across my vision. Congrats to our girl. Julian is all yours now. It seemed Chloe had been so provoked that she'd activated her final double, on the spot. I looked at Julian with great interest. He was reaching a hand toward me, his tone threatening. Nina, come home with me. Don't associate with people like. He didn't even finish his sentence. For the first time ever, a look of disgust for me appeared on his face. He snatched his hand back and quickly retreated to Chloe's side. Chloe, what are you doing with a bitch like Nina? She's not worth a single second of your time. Come with me. As if he were having a schizophrenic episode, he grabbed Chloe's arm and dragged her outside. The onlookers were all stunned, with no idea what was going on. I almost burst out laughing. Julian's mother died when he was young, and his father was always abroad. His psychological issues stemmed from a lack of affection. If it weren't for our family's long-standing friendship, I would have gotten rid of him years ago. I really had to thank Chloe. Her greed, every single time, had saved me and my family. But Chloe clearly hadn't noticed anything strange about Julian. She reverted to her old self, shamelessly sharing her love story with Julian across all her social media accounts. She was so afraid I wouldn't see it that she sent it to me in a private message. And with Julian's help, she did indeed regain a life of luxury, fancy cars, mansions, even a private jet. As for the $200 billion debt, while Julian didn't have the means to pay it all off, he still unconditionally helped her pay off some of the interest, buying her a little breathing room. But just a week later, Chloe sent me a message asking for advice. Nina, Julian invited me to his house tomorrow. You've been his good friend for years and you're my old classmate, so can you tell me what I should watch out for? Will his parents be home? What do they like? I immediately went to Chloe's social media feed and looked closely. Sure enough, over the past week, Julian had spared no effort in molding Chloe into his perfect ideal. And I knew exactly what tomorrow's invitation meant. But Chloe was choosing to walk into her own doom. I couldn't stop her. I silently sent her back 2 words. Travel light. After all, no matter what she brought, that psychopath would just throw it away. But Chloe seemed to have misunderstood me. When I was sipping my boba tea and saw the comment feed discussing which sexy costume Chloe should wear, I spat a mouthful of tea right onto my dad's face. What's wrong with you? Get the top score in the state. And now you're so full of yourself you're spitting on your old man. I apologized profusely, silently mourning for Chloe. Julian was a germaphobe who worshipped purity. Chloe pulling a stunt like this was like tap dancing in a minefield. The next afternoon, I saw Chloe from my window. The moment she stepped out of the luxury car, she impatiently undid her trench coat and threw herself into Julian's arms. Even from across the yard, I could tell Julian was furious. The next second, he dragged Chloe into his villa. The comment feed was still buzzing with excitement, thinking Julian was about to initiate some kind of forced seduction fantasy. But a few moments later, they weren't laughing anymore. Why is there a crystal coffin in this basement? Help. Our girl, run. That psycho wants to turn you into a taxidermy specimen. Oh my God. What are all those things in those glass jars? They aren't pieces of people, are they? He wished. But because I had made my disgust clear, Julian had restricted himself to dissecting and preparing specimens of animals that had died accidentally. I looked at the comment feed. The idiots were frantically trying to get help. In the end, I called the police. They arrived in time to save Chloe. But from her dazed expression, It was clear she had suffered a major psychological shock. A court-ordered evaluation quickly diagnosed her with severe schizophrenia. The multiple charges against her, including massive debt and fraud, couldn't be prosecuted due to her mental state. Upon her release from the hospital, she would be immediately transferred to a maximum security psychiatric facility for lifelong institutionalization. But Chloe, blessed with main character plot armor, managed to escape on the way to the psychiatric hospital and ran straight to my house. "Nina, you did this, didn't you? I took everything from you. Your exam score, your family's fortune. Why do I still have nothing, while you're completely unscathed?" I felt sorry for her and I couldn't bear to see her live a lie. So I smiled and told her everything about seeing the comment feed and the whole truth. But this only made her more hysterical. She lunged at me, trying to choke me, muttering over and over that she was going to kill me. "If I kill you, you'll never stand in my way again. I'll still be the main character. I still have a chance." Yes, the system. The system said I have one more extra chance. One that comes with a price. I still have one. But she was quickly subdued by the police who had just arrived. A doctor took the opportunity to give her a sedative, and they took her away. Chloe's little outbursts would undoubtedly affect her treatment at the psychiatric hospital. I was curious about that extra chance. But I certainly wasn't going to risk myself. I hired a top hypnotist to have a nice chat with Chloe. Soon after, she traded her soul's destruction for one last use of the system. It forcibly transferred all her debts to Julian's family. The Fu family went bankrupt overnight. As for Julian, he was caught red-handed for attempted murder. But because he was diagnosed with obsessive-compulsive personality disorder, anxiety, and a host of other psychological issues, his fate was the same as Chloe's. He was locked away in a psychiatric hospital. As I was leaving the university library, I saw the official notice of their sentences online. Most of the comments were from people who were unhappy with the outcome. After all, if someone could just claim a mental illness and get away with murder without prison time, what about the victims? But thankfully in this whole farce, there were no real victims. And those two, they really were sick. As for me, I was just a spectator. And after the show is over, it's time to turn around, walk away, and move forward. The future was clear and wide open. The end.